Tonight, EMSA can tick the racing capital of the world off their list in just their first season. We wonder over the next hour who will add their name to the long list that have won here at the Brickyard. Tonight we have 16 drivers to face off and see who gets to kiss the bricks. Paul Crone comes in with a 29-point lead over Broderick Johnson, but it doesn't look like the Johnsons here, but one championship competitor that has returned is Ian Lane. But after scoring 0 points with the drop week at Rockingham, full focus for him will be making sure he does not have a non-appearance for car number 98. We'll be watching with excitement as we welcome you to the EMSA Service Experts eRoval series with Bryan Sawyer in the production truck and Cody Erdmann next to me in the commentary box. I am Josh Mertz as we are live from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in Speedway, Indiana on the Automotive Sports Network. Our coverage and series both brought to you by the Service Experts Advantage program. Get worry-free comfort at one low monthly payment. And for more information, visit serviceexperts.com. Cody, we are at one of the meccas of speed in the United States. And how exciting is this going to be with electric cars going down the front straightaway here in Indianapolis?
Yeah, super happy to be here in Indianapolis. I would say this is probably the first time we've been on almost a traditional road course with these cars, so it should be entertaining with that. We have some really high, heavy braking zones and some kind of fast switchbacks left and right, and so it should be an entertaining night. We're looking forward to it. Let's see what all 16 of these drivers can put on a show for us here tonight.
As 14 turns and 2.44 miles around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, down the front straightaway, down through the infield, down Holman Boulevard, around the museum, and back out onto the oval. So many things that have happened throughout this track's history, of course, over 100 years, whether it's oval or road course. Let's go over the points coming into Indianapolis, round 7 of the championship. Paul Crone, like I mentioned, 29-point lead over Broderick Johnson in car number 82. His drop week was round 3, so he won't technically get another one. Ian Lane, his drop week was in Rockingham. He's got 208 points. Jordan Pritchard, who is out for the rest of the season, best wishes to Pritchard. He got that surgery that Cody was mentioning last week. Bob Poplet 5th in points with 183. Grinjen Wang, Isidro, Totten, Watson, and Bajent round out the top 10. Remember, Bajent had that wonderful run last week in Rockingham, Cody.
Yeah, she put on a really good show. Almost had a possibility of taking overall. Unfortunately, just was one step away short on the podium there. So, as we just started qualifying here, let's see who's getting thrown on some fast laps. As I think in practice, Ian Lane was our fastest. So let's see if he can also jump up there again.
Next week, we go to Gateway, then Atlanta, and then Charlotte to round out the championship. So, at least in the interim, we'll pop that graphic back up next Sunday. We'll be live on ASN Live at the Gateway Motorsports Park, more commonly known Worldwide Technology Raceway at Gateway, but I do things my own way. So, Gateway Motorsports Park, myself, Cody Erdmann, Bryan Sawyer for that one. But interesting announcement that I was supposed to make, I think like 3 weeks ago, is the Automotive Sports Network will be back with EMSA. They're going to have a Triple Crown street course, kind of a mini championship. They go to Long Beach December 4th, Detroit December 11th, and Chicago Street Circuit on Lakeshore Drive. That's going to be a wonderful race as well. That's December 18th. All those are Sundays. It's going to be the same time slot as here. So be sure to catch those races as well. So, Cody, we're running through qualifying here. Currently fastest. Looks like Riley Downey's the only car to set a lap time. And actually, Logan Lax sets one as well here. So, I don't know what to expect going into turn 1. We know the super long front straightaway. Turns 1 and 2 go through the oval, and you have the long grass patch that you could appropriately, hilariously, do a Ross Chastain, but not in the way that we thought, and that we know Paul Ross Chastain.
Yeah, it should be interesting. Also, trying to find your braking point. There are thankfully markers on the fence going into turn 1. So with these cars not having a singular gearbox, you're not going to have that engine braking. So you're not going to have almost that security of if you do overshoot it, where you can downshift quicker and try to have your engine brake kind of save you. So you got to make sure you were hitting your marks every time going off into 1.
As we are currently looking, let me try and see. Ian Lane in the 98, as we're currently trying to get our timing all taken care of. Paul Crone goes quickest. Dan Neese, 3/10 down on him, as we have just over 10 minutes left. It's a 15-minute qualifying session. It'll set the grid for our first 20-minute feature race. We're going to race for 20 minutes, take a 5-minute warm-up, and then our feature number 2 begins. It's going to have a top 10 invert. And Cody, we only had 10 cars last week, but now we have 16. So how annoying would it be if you finish 11th and you have to start 11th, but the guy who finished 10th is on pole?
Oh, that's like the most absolutely annoying thing. Unfortunately, I've dealt with that in my real-life racing career. I swear every time I'd catch the invert wrong, no matter what the invert number was. So it's aggravating when you catch it just your 1-2 spots short, especially if like you were up there and you made a mistake to make you fall back into that position. So now you don't get the luxury of bumping up front and getting in that clean air in that track position. So that's when you hurt yourself and you do it on your own accord and put you there is probably the most aggravating part. Because then it's like, I should not be back here, but I am now. And now you just got to work that extra little bit to get through the field. But thankfully, you got fast cars in front of you, so you can just kind of just latch onto the back of one of them and just follow them, let them cut you a path to the front. So.
As Paul Crone currently our fastest, and as I say that, Ian Lane, 0.6 of a second faster than Crone. So Lane says, forget about last week. I'm here to win now. He lost the points lead last week. Super fast lap in car number 98.
As Matthew Short, P3, one of our newcomers, part of the Team Watson Racing group, he's sitting P3, so nice to see a couple fast drivers that came in this week being up front.
Just under 10 minutes. So Paul Crone, he's in the pit lane. Matt Short just left pit lane. Dan Neese is on track. He is on his second lap. As we'll see everyone round the corners here. He sits P4. We haven't seen Dan Neese in a couple weeks, I do believe. So it's good to see car number 420 back. Here in EMSA, rounding the final couple of corners on screen, we are taking a look at one of the TWR cars down the back straightaway here in Indianapolis. Looked like it was Matt Short as we ride on board in car number 35 through the chicane. One car in the way, it's team owner James Watson. So penultimate corner, if you were running the full oval course, and the corner is wider than you expect. Off of the infield, onto the north chute, down to the final couple of corners. They added this after the 2005 debacle with Michelin. And I'm not sure personally if I'm a fan of this, but I do understand why, due to safety concerns and maybe increasing overtaking. But now we begin on the front straightaway here in Indianapolis. And Cody, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to have a decently long run, especially with, I don't want to say slow, but how slow these cars are, comparatively speaking, how long the straight is. Braking really early is Short. When I was in the car, it was around the 400-meter board, and it looks like he misses the apex into turn 1. And with the all-wheel drive through turn 2, easy to scoot out to the right-hand side, round the curb. You want to push the car to the left. It'll feel very foreign going down to turn number 4. Through the chicane of 5 and 6. The much disputed track limits is not going to be enforced through this chicane, as Dylan Thomas is only by himself for race control this evening. And then back down Holman Boulevard into turn 9. And Cody, I was in this car, once again, a go-kart, but this is such a huge track for these cars.
Yeah, it's a really fun course just in general, so I'd imagine with these cars, it's sliding off into the grass. That's one thing you got to watch out. A lot of these corners, it's so easy just to step off into the grasses. Jinjian Wang goes quicker, so that's, 3 weeks in a row he's fast time.
Yes, we have,
so he has found some immense speed in the last couple of weeks. I think he's kind of getting a hold of these cars.
Just under 6 minutes left to go here in qualifying, as we're going to get our graphics reset. Apologies for that. We'll try and take a look. as your boy's figuring out how to use ATVO on his end, and I can see the sector time, so I'll be able to appropriately update us here. As we still focus on Drinjen Wang, who set the fastest lap, 1 minute 23.256, just a hair over, a tenth of a second faster than Ian Lane. Drin's got the pole position, the qualifying pace down, but just has to put it together in the races.
Yeah, he's kind of had the bad luck bug bite him each time he's been quick time. Accidentally misunderstood the that we had warm up in between the first two races, so misqual, and he thought it was in the first one, so missed the grid on the first one where he was able to start up front. Last week he started up front and just ran away from the field, but then unfortunately with the invert, like we were talking, he just kind of got stuck in a little bit of a argy-bargy chaos in the first couple laps and got turned, and so what could have been for him, he did almost end up still taking overall, but then pushing it a little bit too hard kind of made him step over that edge just a little bit and wasn't able to catch on. So hopefully he can kind of put tonight together, learn from his mistakes in the last couple of weeks, and see if he can take his first overall of the season.
As down the first corner, he was on a warm-up lap, so we'll see if anybody is on a lap currently. Looks like we've got Paul Crone, 1 minute 24 even. So 0.8 of a second down, and he just set that lap time too. So I've seen the cars come to life on the second lap, but we're going to see a couple of guys hustling to try and get a couple more positions here in qualifying. If I'm not mistaken, we do still get those bonus qualifying points, but they're assessed after the race. Paul Crone goes through the backstretch chicane. Passes Dylan Thomas. Actually, no, it is not Thomas. My apologies there. He's passing Ian Lane. I saw the purple and assumed I was incorrect. As Drinjen Wang now on track. It's a valid move. You don't have a super big gap to try and take the pole and not have to run another lap.
Yeah, as I wonder too, because we have those two drivers that are 0.6 up from Crone, and then it's a pretty tight field after that. I wonder if they just had a good draft lap compared to some, because I'd imagine that's gonna be a big factor going down the front straightaway and through the straightaway in the long straightaway in the infield. Them two, I'd imagine having the draft is gonna be a crucial piece of. If you can kind of work together, you might be able to kind of pull away from everyone else battling behind you.
As Paul Crone in the 98 on screen there, pulling off in the 38. Isidro, as we're just flicking through the field to see Isidro in 14th. Two cars on screen. It looks like one of the TWR cars through that chicane. Actually, I stand corrected. It's Kevin Merck, who I believe is a new entry to the series. Trying to keep track of all these cars here. James Watson sits in P9. Drinjen Wang still for TWR in the different paint scheme, which I thought everyone was going to run the same paint scheme, but it's confusing me. Sitting on pole position, provisional pole by just under 0.1 of a second. Ian Lane looks like pulling off. No, just letting Aaron Totten by, as he will have one lap. And he's got to get this moving here, because like we've said so many times, it's not you have time to run your lap. You have to finish your lap before time expires. And he hits the wall entering the corner. So I don't know if Ian Lane is going to be able to take this lap. He's going so slow, Cody.
Yeah, unfortunately, he may be done with this, as you pretty much have to you need to have crossed the line probably about 15 seconds ago now. So I think this almost will be a scratch lap for him.
Timing says minute 8. Drinjen Wang into the wall off the final corner, down to the line. One, it does not count because he hit the wall. And he got that 2X. So provisionally, Drinjen Wang on pole position again. Let's try and find Paul Crone. He is off track. Matthew Short's off track. That might be it here, Cody. The fact that is Ian Lane has pulled off the track, looks like. Unless he did not. My cameras were just playing tricks on me. He's going down the Holman Boulevard, but he's not going to have enough time.
As I'm watching Bob Poplet. Poplet goes up to a 24-1, so he's up to P5 right now. Good lap by him, finishing off qualifying. See, Gibson's next up on the board. Let's see if he throws on the lap.
Crosses the line. Nope. No, it was a warm-up lap. So we might be confirming a third consecutive Feature 1 pole position for Drinjin Wang. As timing says 2 seconds left. Yep. Timing says checkered flag. Pole position, Drinjin Wang in car number 61. As that is ahead of Ian Lane, Paul Crone, Matt Short through the top 4. With Bob Poplet, Nice, Downey, Gibson, Watson, Bajent, Totten, Thomas, Lax, Isidro, Merck, and James Gregory. Gregory did not set a lap time. We'll have to see if car number 93 will get on track. As we get ready for Feature 1 of the 7th round of the EMSA Service Experts eRoval Series. As our coverage and series brought to you by the Service Experts Advantage Program. Get worry-free comfort at one low monthly payment. For more information, visit serviceexperts.com. Cody Erdmann alongside me, Josh Mertz in the commentary box. Bryan Sawyer in the production truck for the Automotive Sports Network as we get ready to go here in Indianapolis. As looks like just waiting for a couple of cars to grid, including our pole sitter, Drinjin Wang. As my timing's just not playing nice. So we'll have to just figure this out together. 16 cars, Cody. And I've mentioned this 3 times, but I think this slipstream down to turn 1 is going to be immensely crucial after the initial start here.
As I would agree with you. Also, we saw how it was in the NASCAR races off into turn 1 here. Kind of curious how it's going to be here. And I think what we see in the first one may not be exactly the tail of the second one. So see if anyone learns how to play nicely. So we should be getting ready to go green here.
As gridding process has been completed, we do have 16 cars on track, getting ready to go. 20 minutes of racing at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway green flag. Crone got a better jump off the line compared to Lane and Drinjin Wang. Passes Lane, looks to the outside, thought to the inside, thought better of it, down to turn number 1. Couple cars in the back, side by side. Lane thought 3 wide, thought better of it, down to turn 1. Lane contact with Crone. Rounding turn 2, Lane on the outside of Crone. Crone washes out, still side by side throughout the field, and Drinjin Wang goes to the race lead. Side by side, middle of the pack, Aaron Totten, Nicholas Isidro. We have Riley Downey and Dan Neese side by side through the backstretch chicane and down Holman Boulevard for the first time. Still single file for the most part, but it just depends how you get through this chicane to have the run down the back straightaway.
As Poplar got a better run, as just you were saying that, over Paul Crone, sorry, as they now check up going into the quick left-right extraction through here. But yeah, Poplar had a better run through the chicane, so you just had the run to be able to kind of clear Paul Crone and jump out in front of him. So Crone's dropped back all the way down to, what, 5th now, I believe?
That sounds about right. We'll have to wait and see once our graphics come into play. And Lane deep on the brakes into the final corner. Almost hit Drinjin Wang in that chicane. 1 car off. It is Bob Poplet in the 69. He was in 5th, put him back to last. As Totten, I stand corrected, Totten looks like he spun, so put Poplet back to 15th. Drinjin Wang leads at the end of the first lap.
Whoever ran into the back of him, sorry about that. I was on the brake.
There's radio from James Gregory. And we can figure out what happened as Aaron Totten pops up. Nothing came through, but we can assume as Callie Bajent deep on the brakes for P6 into Riley Downey, and around they both go in front of Dan Neese in the 420. Oh. 1 car around as well through the gap of the 2. It's Lax in the 25. He comes out nearly in front of Poplet. And that was overambitious on the brakes for Callie Bajent.
Yep, it's just like I was saying, you just got to find your marks, especially. I don't think a lot of these drivers, they have their marks by themselves, but I'd imagine you're going to have such a lot bigger run going on that front straightaway if you've got the draft of someone. So I think they underestimated on their breaking point So we'll have to keep that in mind too. I'm watching Poplet almost run over the back of the 18 car here, because exactly that, where they have such more of a run going into these corners because of the draft that they. Oh, and Dan Neese now piles into Kevin Merck. So
Looks like Neese lost it through the middle of the chicane. Looks like he clipped the curb. James Gregory avoided it. And Dan Neese comes together. As let's try and take a look through that incident in turn 1 with Callie Bajent, if we can here. As we are actually looking at, that's with Lax and Gregory. And it looks like just a miscommunication of braking points, and Lax gets sent into the wall. Next, we will look at that accident as already in progress, but Bajent super late on the brakes, and there's anti-lock brakes, so it's just a matter of how brave you want to be. And that was Logan Lax who went straight through the middle there between those two. Let's get an updated running order, as never mind, we have championship competitors up front. Ian Lane in second, Crone in third. We've had this battle all season long, and Ian Lane didn't show up last week, so it has lengthened the points gap. And with draft weeks coming into play, Lane just needs to make sure that Crone has a bad race, really.
yeah, that's pretty much all that he's can hope for right now. And you don't want to be that person that forces him into a bad race. So we'll see what happens in these final couple weeks.
As we're not missing anything through the field here, Crone versus Lane looks like to be our closest battle. Remember, at the end of this 20-minute race, we're going to invert the top 10. So 10th is going to get pole position. First, we'll get 10th spot. And there's been a few guys, Crone, Lane, they're up at the top of the points because not only can they finish well in the first one, but they can carve their way through traffic. And that's such an integral part. You wouldn't think it is. But the difference between Ginger and Wang and Crone and Lane is that ability to get through traffic.
And being able to get through it safely and not jeopardizing yourself. We've seen something like Wang himself. He gets a little bit over on the aggressive side or makes a mistake just on himself, catching the grass, catching too much of a curb, where stuff like that will kind of kill him on being able to win the overall.
As we are looking at two of the TWR cars through the first couple of corners, or at least I thought it was. I apologize there. It's Riley Downey versus Bajent, round 2 in turn 4 through the 5 and 6 chicane down to turn 7. Such a wonderful place to get an overtake done, but you have to make sure you're much closer than that through that chicane.
Yeah, that corner is also that kind of double apex right is tricky because you're gassing up and then you guys start braking while you're turning right, so it loads up the right front and the back end likes to step out, so you got to watch it. Especially with these cars having ABS, it's better, but with the cars that don't have ABS, you got to watch how much brake you're putting in there. Otherwise, the back end's going to step out from under you.
Through turn 11, through 12, 13, and 14, that final complex, originally adopted for the MotoGP bikes, as that further course is there, but everything else for the main Grand Prix course cuts down through the infield further. Callie Bajent gets the spot on Riley Downey, put her to 11th. Isidro and Watson battling. This is for the 5th spot. Watson tucks in behind Isidro in the 4:24. And the gap hovering at roughly 2 seconds from Wang to Lane. Crone really hasn't lost Lane, but Matt Short gaining ground here. Watson to the inside, make it the outside now on Isidro through the chicane on the backstretch. Watson way wide, but he's got a huge run off the chicane. We're going to see a pass down to turn 7, Cody, side by side. Watson versus Isidro, halfway there, down to the breaking point. Watson's still there. Will he force it? Yes. And Watson, if he can clear him, will take the 5th position. He does through the 8 and 9 chicane. Textbook move.
Took the words out of my mouth there. Exactly what you got to do going into that corner and into that section. If you drive it and hit your marks just right, you can make so much time and be able to drive through the field. You can make it's an easy second or two you can make up through that section. So you got to make sure you hit it perfectly every single lap. And if you miss one corner, you almost screw up the entire section.
As Crone running the inside, trying to keep lane out of his slipstream, hits the wall from what we missed.
Yeah, you're good now.
As Short to the inside of lane, down to the first corner. Plenty of respect being had. Short gives him plenty of room. As, oh, he did hit the wall, exiting turn 14. So I don't think there's any damage, at least visually, that I can see, but I almost think, did the sim register damage for Paul Crone? We'll have to wait and see here.
Because now let's see if Short's got, it looks like he's kind of got a run going into the hard-breaking left hand. Let's see if he throws it in. Nope. No, he's going to sit back behind lane here. See if he sets him up possibly. Once we get, yeah, let's see if he sets him up going back on the oval.
Through the field, nothing much happening at the current moment. We're going to take a look still at our main battle, and Ian Lane. We talked about him before last week. Before he missed last week, he was up at the points lead, having a great battle with Crone, and now I don't know if he just doesn't get this track compared to Crone. Last lap, he was a second down on Crone's lap. So Crone with the yellow number plate points leader, starting to pull away with that points gap. Remember, it's 29 points that he has over Lane.
Yeah, as we'll kind of look at lap times this time. 28.2 from Wang, 27.3 from Crone, so he's really picking up the pace. 28.6 and Short 28.9. So Crone seems to be the fastest that last lap.
As gap is now about a second and a half from Dringen Wang to Paul Crone. We're going to take a look at the gap as we ride on board Matt Short in car number 35, all over the rear wing of Ian Lane. Last lap for Short, he was 3/10 down. Gap is about half a second. There's radio from Dylan Thomas. Couldn't make out what he said, but Matthew Short trying to make the move on Ian Lane down to turn 7. The gap is really staying, or right as I say that, Crone trying to really take some time out of Dringen Wang. Last lap for Wang was a 28.2. Crone was a 27.3, Cody.
As like I was saying a little bit ago, like that section, the left, right, that whole section, if you hit it right, you'll gain a ton of time. That's exactly where Paul did. So I think that might be his strong suit, is through that section. So we'll have to keep an eye on that when he's trying to pass, if he does catch up to Wang, if he's going to try to pass him there.
Middle sector is one of the most technical here at Indianapolis in the current form. Turn 7, you're at max speed aside from entering turn 1, but pretty much max speed down to turn 7 into a 90 left, and then you go into what you think is a chicane, but really it's 90 right, 90 left, and turn 9 is tighter than turn 8, so it's so easy to throw it off the road in turn 9. And turn 10, like I mentioned in the opener, the corner seems very tight, but the track opens up on corner exit, and then you're really back out on the oval. So middle sector, crucial for Crone. Gap is 1.2 versus, it was 1.5 last lap, so we'll have to see through 6 and 7 down Holman Boulevard to see if Crone can take a little bit more of the gap away, as we just crossed halfway in feature number 1.
Yeah, his lane was pretty much able to match Crone there that last lap time wise, so I think he's kind of getting back in his rhythm a little bit. I'm curious too if these cars have any aero issues when it comes to like dirty air and trying to, not that a car starts getting a little bit of understeer in it when you get tied up behind cars. Haven't ran these enough, but I wonder if that could also be an issue. It seems like
see where that is.
It seems like some drivers are able to kind of, it's the lap time stable back out once they pull away to about a second. So, especially on a track like this where there's some decently high speed corners.
Crone pulled another 3/10 roughly. It looks like, it doesn't look like it right now, but at least through that 12 through 14 complex, he gained some time. But Dringen Wang was able to stretch that gap back out. As I was just flicking through the field, bad news for James Gregory. He is off the track in the 93. So every other car running, we have 15 out of 16 on track. As we welcome everyone to the Automotive Sports Network live on Twitch for the EMSA Service Experts eRoval Series Round 7. We're at Indianapolis. And we are halfway through, just over halfway through, feature number 1. Cody Erdmann, Bryan Sawyer in the production truck. My name is Josh Mertz.
As Sorry.
Cody, go ahead, interrupt me.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna kind of say that we'll have to watch out on the camera here a little bit. We are starting to catch up to lap traffic. Dan Neese will be the first one, and then Aaron Totten's next. So we have 2 cars that our leaders. Ooh, this Chrome gets sideways there. That they're possibly catching up on. So we'll have to keep an eye on watching them try to work through lap traffic here.
And remember, all-wheel drive in these cars. Easy on the throttle to try and push the tires and get grip at the maximum level of adhesion for Paul Crone, and then some. As the gap still 1.2. It goes down to 1 second as side by side Ian Lane and Short. Looks like Short took the spot. We must have missed it. He was deep on the brakes. Entering turn 12. Surprised Lane, but also conveniently Lane locked up the rear brakes. Or rather, did not lock up the rear brakes with anti-locks, but really overloaded those rear tires, Cody. As let's see after this attempt, we might be able to take a look. As Lane on the outside of Short. Couldn't get it done. I don't know if we're live pictures, but we can get those updated. As Lane still on the rear wing of Short going into turn number 4. Gap is 1.2 still from Wang to Crone. Short P3, 4th to Lane. 5th, James Watson. Quiet run for Watson in the 39. Isidro, Poplet, Gibson, Thomas, and Callie Bage at the top 10.
Guys, I noticed that a bit ago. Isidro was sitting 5th. And I see him back on the track, but then, yeah, all of a sudden, a couple laps later, Watson's back up there. And Poplet had a good recovery there from that spin. Being all the way in the back, now he's all the way up to P7. He's quicker than these 2 cars in front of him, and he's kind of catching the rear wing of them. So let's see if Poplet can get back up to top 5 finish here.
As I was flicking through the field, I saw Watson have some issues through turn 9, give up a little bit of time. As Dan Neese has gotten out of the way of Dringen Wang. Remember the disastrous race that we had in New Hampshire.
Thank you, Dan.
As you remember, it was Martin Mathis who got, I think it was Jim Schofield was crashed in New Hampshire. We had that blue flags issue. Dan Neese stays out of the way of Crone. Last lap, 10th up, benefit to Dringen Wang.
As Wang and Crone both, they've checked out from Short and Lane. They're just like ran away. Once I think Wang saw that Crone was able to get around and kind of sit in a P2, I think them two both kind of found that extra gear and were able just to pull away from them. So now it's going to be a 2.
We'll take a look. Dylan Thomas deep on the brakes. Almost into Gibson. That was for 8th spot. And I'm going to mention James Watson still holding 5th, but he's a 2.5 slower last lap alone than Bob Poplet. So echoing back to what you were saying just a moment ago, Bob Poplet might be getting 5th place back here in a couple of minutes, as we're just over 3/4 of the way through feature race number 1. Dringen Wang still holds the lead. Paul Crone just under a second as we enter turn 12. We're going to have the lap car Aaron Totten in the way here in just a moment.
Yeah, as Papa's really hard on the brakes there into 7. Kind of caught up a good amount. That seems like where Poplet's quicker than Watson. It's on the brakes there. He's right up to the rear wing. Murdering that curb there.
As Watson defending from Poplet for all he's worth. We're going to take a look at the lap times, even though we know Dringen Wang deep on the brakes was Crone. Totten stays out of the way, and Dringen Wang now, he was 0.4 of a second slower that last lap as Watson still holds the 5th spot. We have a battle for the lead. Getting close here as Wang might have overcooked his stuff. And now has to hold off the points leader Paul Crone. Slipstream down Holman Boulevard. Down to turn number 7. The last of the late breakers. Who will it be? We're going to have 3 minutes to go here in feature race number 1. Shallow entry for Wang down into turn 7. And like we mentioned earlier, Crone very good in the middle sector. Doesn't hit the curb like Wang does as we go through turn 10.
That last left-hander, each time I look at Crone, he's just sideways through it. He's like almost like he's running a rallycross car through there, just kind of flicking the back end of the car. So
into turn 12. They both miss the curb, barely kiss it, and Krone is coming. Poplet past Watson for the 5th spot through turn 9. So as they've been battling. So maybe Watson has pace when he's behind somebody else. As Poplet runs wide, misses the apex of turn 12. Will Watson do an over-under through 13? Late apex. He'll have the run, Cody. So James Watson's not out of this yet.
No, sometimes that's what a driver needs. Just kind of that carrot out there to go chase. And right now, Bob Poplet is that carrot for Watson. And as we see in the picture there, Isidro's right back there. So if these two make a mistake, Isidro's will be able to pounce and get up a couple of free positions.
Krone was 0.2 up on Wang that last lap. Gap is under 0.7 of a second as we're getting close to 1.5 minutes.
Gotta love VR giving me a critical error for no reason.
Logan Lax has some issues in the 25. Down the backstretch, Holman Boulevard for James Watson, Bob Poplet. Thought Watson could hold him down the front straightaway, but Poplet looks like to be pulling away. Down to turn number 7.
Watson hard on the brake.
Curb. I thought Poplet was going to be upset from the curbs, but the car behaved. Watson missed the apex.
Headed into 7 in the video game. Oh, critical battery on your right controller. I know.
Logan Lax having some issues. There's just under 1 minute left. We'll see if we're going to get the white flag. We do here in Indianapolis for the first feature race, and the gap hasn't been under this distance all race long. It's under half a second. Krone, last lap, 0.2 up again, all over
right
the rear
back
wing of Trinjin Wang. What a break! What a maneuver under braking. So deep, so late on the brakes.
Yeah, now to see if he can kind of rally back with them accordioning like they did. Krone was unfortunate, lost some time, but now he's reeling them right back in.
Wang ran it wide through turn 4, all the way to the left to break the slipstream, but that's not the best line because you have to go back to the right-hand driver's right to make it down to turn 7. Will we see Krone deep on the brakes? Will we see Wang make a mistake? Very deep on the apex. We know how quick Krone is through the 8-9 chicane. Down to turn 10, and the last real braking maneuver, passing maneuver, as I got twisted up on my words. Krone made me get confused. Off of 10, down to 11. Krone is there to make a move into turn 12. The battle for the win in the first feature. Here in Indianapolis, Trinjin Wang pulls Krone. Going down to turn 12, I thought Krone could make the move. Down the short straightaway, he's got one last maneuver. He opens the door. Does Wang nearly contact? Wang holds it. Will Krone get the slipstream down the front straightaway off of turn 14? No. He has to lift off, and Trinjin Wang will come off the final corner and win the first feature in Indianapolis. As Krone comes home second, third is short, and Trinjin Wang held him off.
Yeah, that was amazing race, good sportsmanship, not doing anything too crazy there by Krone, just showing how worthy of a championship he is. Poplet and Watson, they're still battling. It looks like Poplet's going to get him better here of the round 1 of this battle. See if them two battle it off in the second feature.
Isidro 7th. Logan Lax off the lead lap. Stephen Gibson comes home in 8th. Callie Bajent 9th. 10th, Riley Downey. And you pull the results sheet up and cars aren't even done yet, Brian Sawyer. How dare you? Dylan Thomas will come home 11th. 12th will be Kevin Merck, as a couple of other cars off the lead lap. Totten, Nice, Lax, and Gregory, 13th through 16th. So now, Trinjin Wang is going to start 10th. Riley Downey is going to start 1st and flip everyone through there. That's going to be interesting to see Krone and Wang.
And Paul, looks like y'all were closer there. Can't wait to see the broadcast.
It's going to be interesting to see them come through the field, Cody. As I didn't read Discord, Cody Erdmann has a bathroom break. He left me all by myself, which is okay. As remember, NASA Rallycross is off until February, but after Halloween tomorrow, we're going to have a fun series with the Mercedes F1 car and some street stocks. So if you'd like to join us, nasadiscord.tk. There's no entry fee, no barrier to entry. As long as you got the content, Come have a good time. That's going to be Mondays. It's going to start at 7 p.m. or sorry, 8 p.m. Eastern time. No broadcast because your boy's going to race in it. But for broadcast here in the Automotive Sports Network, we will have round 8 of the EMSA Service Experts eRoval Series. We're going to be in Gateway for that race. You'll join myself, Cody Erdmann, and Bryan Sawyer next Sunday on ASN Live for that. As fastest lap in the first feature, you might have seen the graphic pop up. It was Dringen Wang at a 1 minute 26.6. Remember, the driver with the fastest lap throughout the 2 feature races will get the Destino Motorsports Dash Award and that $5 iRacing credit. So we'll have to keep an eye through that second feature. As a couple of text notes. So James Gregory says, no grip. Dringen Wang says, apologies if I was a little impolite in the final corners. Thanks for keeping it clean, Paul. And Paul says, that was good. I need more time. You were getting loose. Now the real fun begins. So just under 3.5 minutes, right about now, left in this warm-up. As we are taking a look at one of the TWR cars running through the infield. That's Matthew Short. And this Indianapolis Motor Speedway always produces a wonderful race, whether it's IndyCar, NASCAR. I don't want to say Formula One because depending on the year, you could be canceled. But Indianapolis always produces a great race, even if you don't use turn 1 of the famous speedway. But we are on the North Chute through the turns 13, 14, 12, 13, 14 complex. As Matt Short will come off the final corner. Looks like he might run a timed lap here. As we'll take a look at, nobody has taken a timed lap yet. As Dan Neese trying his hand at drifting. Matt Short goes down to turn 1. Couple cars exiting. Riley Downey and James Gregory. And Downey, I think, is just having fun drifting his car, which is all in good fun. But there are a couple guys. Logan Lax off the final corner. He's going to start his lap. As Dringen Wang makes a comment in chat that says, one more lap and you would have gotten me. So maybe not super confident as to what was going to happen in that with that car. As on track, still focusing on James Gregory. What a beautiful purple livery for car number 93. As Matthew Short on track, Neese. We only have the 3 cars on track. Logan Lax on track as well, having some connection issues after having the virtual reality hiccup as well in car 25. And Matt Short looks like he's the only one on a committed lap. So through the 12, 13, 14 chicane, and that corner tightens up. You'd think it's much wider than it is, and the radius tightens up through the last bit of it. You feel like you can go full throttle through this final corner, but you really can't. You have to lift off the throttle depending on what line you run. And crossing the line at a 1 minute 26.296, fastest lap, and I think the only lap clocked in warm-up so far. As so far through the event standings, it is not correct, so I apologize there. It's Cody Erdmann. Give me a quick prediction for this second feature race. What do you think?
Well, I would say initially that start was a lot calmer than I was expecting. I thought we were going to have at least a little bit more calamity. But as we saw last week in Rockingham, it's exactly how it played out, where the first race was pretty calm and the second one was pure chaos. So let's see. We got Downey Bajent on the front row here. So 2 very quick drivers. Unfortunately, kind of the bad luck bug struck them there in that last race. So we'll end up seeing what happens here. I think if Krohn and Wang can get through the field, I think it's going to be them 2 trying to battle it out. But anything can happen, especially with the 10-car invert that we have.
As we remember, the overall race winner, it's an average of the 2 feature races, and if you end up tying, whoever finishes better in the second feature race. So we can take a look at the starting grid really quick. Riley Downey, Callie Bajent, Stephen Gibson, Nicholas Isidro, James Watson, Bob Poplet. Ian Lane, Matt Short, Paul Krohn, Dringen Wang through the top 10. Dylan Thomas, Kevin Merck, Aaron Totten, Dan Neese, Logan Lax, James Gregory through to 16th. Our series and coverage brought to you by the Service Experts Advantage program. Get worry-free comfort at one low monthly payment. For more information, visit serviceexperts.com as the end of the starting grid appears there. Bryan Sawyer on the production truck. My name's Josh Mertz, alongside me, Cody Erdmann, for round 7 of the EMSA Service Experts eRoval series here on the Automotive Sports Network. Top 10 of inverted. We're going to have a crazy dash down to turn number 1 and another 20-minute race to decide who wins this race overall. As everybody on grid, such a wonderful track to race at in Indianapolis and to kiss the bricks, of course. Who wants to have their name on the trophy and to virtually kiss those bricks? We'll have to see in 20 minutes time, but thank you, like I mentioned, for joining us on ASN Live today or all season or whatever it may be, as 16 cars, fully electric, getting ready to do battle here in Indianapolis. Green flag and off the line. Bajent got a great phase, start of the first phase. I apologize. They're down to turn 1. He's going to pull side by side to Downey in the back. We have side by side. One car, Steven Gibson, peeks to the inside into Bajent. 3 wide, make it 4 wide with Isidro down to turn number 1. There's no way this is going to work as Art beating and banging. It was Gibson and Bajent, and to the lead goes Isidro, sneaking through his Watson. Round the outside, looks like it was Krone. Where's Jinjin Wang? He got mugged off the start as Callie Bajent now gets passed by Krone. Krone sneaks through to the inside, put him to 5th through the 6th and 7th chicane, down the Holman Boulevard for the first time. Watson slow, clips the curb. Krone goes to the driver's left, side by side a couple more cars. It looks like it was Matthew Short and Dan Neese down to turn number 7. Deep on the brakes is Downey in the 1. Passes James Watson. And Krone has already gotten up to 3rd. Gibson all over the rear wing. One car pushed out wide. Looks like 3 cars came together through turn 7, through 8 and 9. And on to turn number 10, Cody. Well, I didn't expect that. Paul Krone sits in 3rd, leading Nicholas Isidro.
Yes, Krone shows why he is
Deep on the brakes, Gibson. Deep on the brakes, Downey. They make contact.
Yeah, I was to say, right there is why Krone has shown that he's right now the title favorite.
Wide. It was Gibson. They're still battling with Downey. I'm really trying not to cut you off, but everyone decides to race now. Downey cuts the grass nearly into the wall. Huge runner for Watson down the front straightaway. Slipstreaming down the front straightaway. What you see at Indianapolis, regardless of discipline. Down to the first corner. Very late is Downey trying to decide what line. Krone locks up. Figuratively locks up with anti-lock brakes. One car deep. It's Ian Lane as well. As everybody under a blanket and pushing wide is Gibson into Downey nearly. Downey takes the spot. Put him to P4. Gibson to the inside of Downey now. These 3, 4, everybody really under a blanket. Watson nearly defends on the lane. One car in the grass or in the gravel. And it's Callie Bajent.
Oh,
one car
Gibson
around, it's Steven Gibson.
And along with Ian Lane.
Lane's off. 3 wide down to turn 7. Wang deep on the brakes to pass Dan Neese. I wish we could pick up a replay, but we can't. 5 cars, 6 cars under a blanket. Paul Krone still trying to catch Poplet and Isidro, those two battling for the race lead. But we also have one car around. It is James Gregory from the 12th position. Poplet to the inside of Isidro for the race lead down to turn 12. Outbrakes himself, and a switcheroo for Isidro back to the race lead. Krone to the outside of Poplet, nearly contact between them. Rounding turn 13 off the corner. Krone gets a better run, but it looks like, Cody, the 3rd car in line has the best slipstream here.
Yeah, it seems like the wake just gets bigger and bigger, so if you're the 3rd car in line, you get this massive run. It looks like Short and Merck out of the race for us.
It's the 2nd time.
You've definitely doored me twice this race, bro.
Conversation happening between Aaron Totten and James Gregory. They came together again, and it was in turn 12, and it was very optimistic. If we can maybe catch that, and if we can, I could describe it. But it was very optimistic, as we cannot. Apologies there. Gregory came from miles back. Totten realized he was there, so it prevented a huge schmozzle. Side by side, Krone and Poplet.
Poplet gets by. As Poplet gets back by Krone, so now put Poplet up to P2. Massive
Poplet.
run.
Poplet had the slipstream down the Holman Boulevard and took that pass really easy. But here's the problem with extending track limits like that. And I'm not hating on people that are doing it, but if you hit the curb wrong and you go out there, cool, but you are going to be hindered in your top speed because that curb is what originates your speed. It's not running that far wide. It's Isidro, half a second ahead of Krohn with Poplet in the middle. Nice in fourth, Drinjen Wang in fifth. Not what he needs to see, because I don't think he would be winning overall if the race ended right now. And so begins the fascinating tale of where do I have to finish to win overall or have a good finish overall.
As of right now, if Wang could get around Nice, that will put him over the overall leader at the moment, I believe. But we're going to find out here is Krohn sitting behind Poplar right now. It's this 3-car train. I think Wang is kind of sizing up Nice, trying to figure out where he's faster.
Poplet was 0.7 of a second faster than Krohn. I think Krohn is faster than Poplet, or at least on pace, but Isidro is the pin to the grenade. Poplet does the same thing he did to Krohn that last lap, nearly contact down the Holman Boulevard, down to turn 7. Isidro defends the inside. Krohn loves this. If Isidro washes out, puts him to the grass, gives him room. Rather, a car width and a half. Isidro through 8 and 9. Krohn to the outside. Will Krohn take the spot?
Oh,
He will.
Wang got to turn around.
Wang spun. Where is he? He is in P5. 3 cars under a blanket. It's Downey and Watson battling with Nice. As I'll try and take a look off monitor. He was in the 5th spot, and it looks like he got hit. He did not get hit. I thought he did by Dan Nice, just overcooked turn 7. So our feature 1 winner not having a good race, but Paul Krohn certainly where he needs to be. I think unofficially he would be winning overall. Especially he'd win overall if he can get by Poplet here. Poplet into the wall.
Because now we got Poplet and Krohn checking out. See if Krohn does anything.
Straight away. 1 car back on track at Stephen Gibson. In the 43, will Krohn try and make a move? He will not. Fastest lap to Ian Lane. Where is Ian Lane? We'll get to that in a moment. Dan Nice on the outside of Riley Downey through turn 1. He loses the spot to Downey. Will Watson take the spot from him? As Ian Lane sits in 8th, 1 minute 27.445. He sits almost 10 seconds behind the race leader. 1 car wide.
Isidro.
It was Isidro. As Riley Downey who gets past. Isidro still did run wide. He was in the 3rd spot. Cut the track, actually, because he slid, so not a good time for him. 1 car to the inside. It looks like it's James Watson on Riley Downey. So Watson goes from 4th to 6th in basically 2 corners. And getting some ruffled feathers is Aaron Totten. What happened here? As he's still battling with James Gregory, and they came together because Totten missed the corner. I don't know exactly who to blame on that, but off the track now, Aaron Totten actually disconnects from the session.
As we're we were looking back there just for a second, but because now we got a beautiful speed shot here going into turn 1.
As we might have some connection issues as Paul Krohn sits in 2nd, Poplet in 1st, Dan Nice, Watson, Downey the top 5, Drinjen Wang in 6th as we're focused on the 420. Rounding turn 2. We lost you for a minute, but you are back now if we can hear you on the internal feed, Bryan Sawyer. As lost you for a minute, but now we are back, so apologies for those graphic issues there. We were able to... Didn't make it look too bad, at least I don't think.
As I'll have to give a shout out to Nice. He's running P3. He was a lap down the last race, and he's running 3rd right now. So a little shout out to him being able to hold on to that position at the moment.
As Poplet, Krohn, Nice, Watson, Downey, Wang, Isidro, Lane, Bajent, Lax. That's our top 10. As James Gregory, Dylan Thomas, and then Aaron Totten, Stephen Gibson, Matt Short, Kevin Mertz. So I don't think Merck is on the track anymore. He is, I stand corrected. So I think the only retirement that we have is Aaron Totten. A couple cars in the pit lane, Gibson and Gregory, so that might actually make me a liar. As Poplet last lap was 0.6 up on Krone. This passing lap, he was 0.8 up on Krone that last lap.
As besides the top two have kind of checked out a little bit, like the rest of our field is pretty tight. You have Dan Easey's about 6
One
seconds.
car inside Lane on Isidro. This is for 7th. And Lane takes the spot. Isidro hanging on the quarter panel of the 98. Lane clears him out of turn 2. Good move.
Yeah, pretty much the whole field's kind of
One car
stacking
wide.
up
It's
behind Dan.
Downey in the 1. Just trying to keep an eye on everything that's going on. I'm so sorry to cut you off. Downey slid. So now this opens the door for Lane. As Downey was in P5, he got passed by Wang. Lane is in P7, so get a couple more points for the 98, unless with some connection issues. Steven Gibson is disconnected, so we have 2 retirements this evening.
As Lane's putting pressure on Downey, right on that big wing.
Through 8 and 9, and the pressure gets to him. Sliding is Downey in car number 1. Lane to the inside. Lane to the 7th spot. So get a couple positions in 1 lap. Haven't missed anything up front, though. Focus on this battle. Deep on the brakes is Downey. Through 13. And now Downey can set his, or Lane, sorry, can set his sights on Wang. And Downey has to have cooked his tires, Cody. He's all over the track. Huge run, though, off of 14.
Yeah,
because go with it.
Because Lane got sideways there. They're going to bump draft down the front straightaway. Didn't think we saw that in a Porsche.
Down deep. Early on the brakes is Downey. You never want to think that you're going to outbrake the guy when you're directly under his wing. Lane misses the apex. So does Downey. Downey got distracted by Lane into turn number 1. As our battle up front, still half a second between Poplet and Krone. The last lap, Krone was about 1/10 up.
As Watson's still on the back wing of Dan Neese here. See if he can possibly do something.
What a good run for James Watson, too. Almost on the podium here in this second feature race.
Yeah, I wonder if this track just kind of fits his driving style a little bit better. I know some drivers will have on the laps here, too, so it probably helps out a little bit.
Through turn 11. We're going to take a look at our lap times for the top 2 once they complete them to get this timing update. As Watson was 1/10 up on Dan Neese for the 3rd spot this last lap. And Poplet keeps running, pushing it very wide, exiting 14 onto the front straightaway and over the yard of bricks once again. 1 minute 28.004 to Paul Krone, 1 minute 28.025. Gap was negligible between the two, down to turn 1 again. Dan Neese holds the spot. He was 0.3 down on Watson, so Watson quicker that last lap. The gap is basically a quarter of a second from Poplet to Krone up front. And then it's half a second from Neese to Watson as it's calmed down throughout the field here as we just passed halfway home in the second feature. Clobbering the curb was Poplet. Will Krone get the draft down the Holman Boulevard? It looks like he will, as we're focused for a moment on Neese versus Watson. Down to turn number 7 is Krone. Little jut to the inside there. Maybe he was a little bit worried. Late apex to accelerate through 8 and 9, get a better run through the corner. And Cody, I think he's just planning his move.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Just going to sit there, kind of figure out where you're faster than Poplet. Because in the last race, he didn't have to race Poplet, so he doesn't know where kind of what's Poplet's strengths and weaknesses.
Poplet deep in turn 12. Krone tries to go for the race lead, and he does. Will Poplet take it? No, he does not take the fight. He'll get a little bit to regroup. But of course, this will put Krone in the overall win picture if it were to end right now. Watson and Neese battling. Watson held his own on the outside through turn 13, through 14. So tricky to get right. Watson giving him plenty of room. Will we get some slipstream down the front straightaway? Will Drinjan Wang drop to support his team owner? Swooping to the inside is Dan Neese. Will Watson peek to the outside down to turn number 1? Wang doesn't give him slipstream. Watson's got a car width down to turn 1. Pokes his nose into the picture. Can't get it done. Late apex. Switcheroo through turn 2. Pushing it wide is Neese just by a millimeter almost. Through 3 and 4. And let's see this run through the backstretch chicane down to turn 7. As previously, you'd turn right and do a couple of hairpins, but in 2014, they changed this layout to include this chicane. And Cody, this second straight on the Holman Boulevard, by increasing this, so many passes have been made, whether in real life or in the sim.
Because all three pretty much broke at the same spot, so keep the distance the same between all three. Yeah, that corner is really fun. If you can hit that first corner right with your braking point as Watson sideways to that left-hander, if you can hit that right, it's just amazing just to kind of hit your marks through that section. And you're able to, like I said, make a ton of time. We saw Crone in that last race. That was his strength. Now harder on the brakes again into 12 here.
As this is a battle for the final spot on the podium of the second feature race. We had Drinjen Wang, Paul Crone, and Matt Short on the podium in that first feature race. And Crone trying to be the only repeat driver on the podium as Poplet finished 5th. Nice was 14th. James Watson was in 6th. So this might actually help James Watson. Theoretically, he'd have 9 points. He'd finish right around the 4th position, so not a bad run for James Watson. Drinjen Wang trying to get through his team owner and Dan Nice because he needs to get closer to the front to take the overall. But here's the problem. Even if he was in 2nd, Cody, Crone would still win because he won the 2nd feature, theoretically, if it would end right now.
Yeah, essentially that start was probably the most crucial thing. Crone was able to kind of drive through a lot of the chaos, and unfortunately, Wang was just in the wrong lane, and he was not able to at all. He was just stuck in the traffic, so now he's had to battle through most of the traffic here as Watson looking wide on Nice, unfortunately unable to get it done. See if Watson can size him up here, coming back onto the oval, and then hard on the brakes right away.
Haven't missed anything up front. Still Crone over Poplet. We're watching the battle for 3rd. Dan Nice, James Watson, Drinjen Wang. And Crone doing what he needs to do to lengthen his points lead as well. Such a huge points lead already. And there's the maximum you can get, I think, is 70 points per race. And he's already got half of that as we begin the final quarter of the season next week in Gateway. 9 p.m. Eastern Time on ASN Live. Cody Erdmann, myself, Josh Mertz, and Bryan Sawyer in the production truck for that one. That should be a great race. And technically, worldwide technology raceway. Deep on the brakes is Watson. Missed the apex was Nice. Watson clobbered it back just a little bit as we ride on board his team car, Drinjen Wang.
As Watson had a better run there through that left-hander. See if he can get... Nope, nothing with it yet. See if he'll have the better run through the chicane. Oh, Nice runs it wide. I'd imagine Watson's going to have a better run here.
You normally want to run it that wide. If you were running the old Grand Prix course, you want to make it a shallow run to get a better run on the left-hand side. Watson down Holman Boulevard, side-by-side drag racing down to turn 7. Where is Wang in this situation? Watson deep on the brakes. He'll take the spot, miss the apex, slides it in the rears, and hits his team car! Oh, no!
As, are we adding that to the commentator curse tally? I think we are.
I'm going to get another one in a channel on this Discord somewhere. There's yet another commentator curse.
Oh yeah, Watson still stuck. I think he's parking it as he tows it back to the pit lane. So I think that's catastrophic. Oh, Paul Crone just went off.
As Crone goes off from the race lead, and Poplet goes by, and he clipped the curb. Hopefully we can get another. He clipped the grass with the left rear.
Amazing save by him on that, though.
As we catch it just in progress there, we're going to roll it back for you. Cut the grass. So now, with Drinjen Wang out of the picture, I think it's still Crone, because it would be a second and second, so he would finish 2nd. Lane would finish 4th. So I think Nice was so far back, Poplet wouldn't be. It'd be Crone, I think. We'll have to wait and see here. There's a minute and a half left in Indianapolis as Crone loses the 2nd feature race lead. But remember, we pay attention to the overall just to see who will win this race. So Dan Nice, after the TWR catastrophe, holds the 3rd spot over Ian Lane. And Crone gave up 2.5 seconds. But luckily, he already had one in his pocket. So I think we're going to be getting the white flag here, Cody. I don't think Poplet has anything to worry about unless Krone can pull something out of the hat.
Yeah, just Poplet's just got to hit his marks here. Krone is only a second back, so if he kind of throws a magical lap together, he could possibly have a chance coming into the 12, 13, 14 complex. But we'll see as we go off down into turn 1. See how much. See if he'll try to outbreak him here.
White flag in Indianapolis. Last lap, Poplet was a 10th up on Paul Krone in the 38, the 69 versus the 38. Dan Neese still holds the third spot. He was a second and a half slower than Ian Lane that last lap, so we might be paying attention for the second feature podium. Unofficially, Paul Krone will still win this race overall, but of course you want to win the race in style, still winning the second feature on the road. But Poplet and Krone were the beneficiaries of the schmozzle on lap 1. I was going to say turn 1, but lap 1 the entire lap, as everyone was everywhere. Such a crazy first lap and a bit, I should say. As Poplet, Krone, Neese, Lane, Downey, the top 5. Downey drive in car number 1 after being all over the track. But Poplet on the inside on the North Chute will round turn 13, round turn 14 onto the legendary front straightaway here in Indianapolis. Unless something catastrophic happens in the next 2 seconds, Bob Poplet will win feature race number 2. But the man who gets to kiss the bricks, Paul Krone, who wins unofficially overall. Poplet wins feature 2. Krone in second in the feature, but winning overall. And Dan Neese, who's going to hang on in front of Ian Lane unless he hits the wall. Coming to the checkered flag, Lane will take third. What happened to Neese? Although they are teammates, so maybe that was a team move. Who knows?
Next race, guys. My slow ass finish this race, and I'll
As
calculate our
Lane
points.
looks like I think will come home second overall because of that. As Neese, Downey, Isidro, Wang, Lax, Bajent, Thomas, the top 10. 11th is Short. 12th, Kevin Merck. 13th Merck. 14th, Gregory. 15th, Totten. Gibson is 16th. Those are the second feature race results.
As I believe, just doing by quick math here, I think Krone will be our overall, like you said. Lane will be second. I think Poplet should be third with his first and fifth. So I'd imagine just by quick looking. Because unfortunately, Wang took 7th in this race, so first and a 7th. I think so. Wang should be P4 maybe.
It looks like it is the third win overall for Paul Krone, beginning to get a stranglehold on this championship. He won in Iowa, he won in Rockingham, makes it 2 in a row here in Indianapolis. We take a look. As we take a look at the second feature race results, like we had mentioned, Poplet, Krone, Lane, Neese, Downey, Isidro, Wang, Lax, Bajent, Thomas, the top 10. We're going to get unofficial results as Krone parks at the start-finish line at the Yard of Bricks. And let me tell you, it's a surreal experience to kiss those bricks. And Paul Krone might not be able to do that, but he'll at least attempt to do maybe some burnouts once everyone goes by. Unless you can get the car rolling. I know, obviously, with the cars being electric, there's no clutch to dump the clutch and get the car to move. So we'll see. Ooh, there he goes. Kind of.
Good job, Bob, on your first feature win. I think that adds our total to 7 unique feature winners, so that's pretty cool.
As Ian Lane was our...
Looks to be Krone. Paul Krone
Ian Lane takes
with a 2-2. Then we got Bob Poplet again with a 5-1. And then Ian Lane with a 4-3 for third. Congrats, guys.
As race control, Dylan Thomas.
Go ahead and jump in the general voice chat and Discord for your interviews, and make sure everyone's coming.
As top 2. And we are going to get those official results overall for round 7 in Indianapolis. As it's out of order, but Paul Krone wins, and that's going to be a lot of guesswork, but it looks like Poplet Lane is tied with Wang. Short, no, Isidro. As let's just drop that graphic, and all we need to worry about is Paul Crone wins the race overall. Ian Lane in the second position. It's actually no, it is Crone, Poplet, and then Lane. So we'll bring in.
There we go.
Dringen Wang comes home third, but it's based on the overall or the round second feature results. Apologies there. So graphic says Wang. It is Ian Lane who finishes third overall. So we will have a chat. Cody will with Ian Lane, our third place man.
Hey there, Ian, you got us?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Is put on some pretty good show with having a P4, then a third on the second step of the podium there. What did you think of that start in the second race? Because that was pure chaos. Guys going 4 wide and guys and girls going 4 wide.
I was on the left and I was behind my teammate Riley, who was on pole. So I thought I was maybe doing good, and then I realized we were in about like 10th. So I don't know what happened. I just know I didn't get left much room, and I honestly didn't have a good view. I just kind of felt bad for Riley. I'm not sure what happened to him. I haven't looked at the replay, but I ended up behind him somehow. And yeah, it was pretty chaotic to be. I assumed I was 3 wide for most of that turn 1, but I'll have to look at it myself.
Yeah, it was just. I think at one point the front row was 4 wide at one point, so it was just pure chaos until we ended the first lap. With you pretty much have your sights set on Paul Crone essentially. Do you think you can be able to get him here in the next couple of weeks, or is it kind of salvage and just kind of try to hold on to your position and points?
I mean, for me to be on the podium in the second race is literally a miracle. I was in like 15th on lap 2. I have no idea how I got to third. I don't know what Dan was doing. I think he was trying to like Iberian snake me on the front straightaway, and he hit the wall. And I somehow got third because of that. And like, I don't know. I was so far back. Like nights like tonight, if I don't have terrible starts, I obviously would like to keep with Paul and everybody else. But I feel very lucky to even be talking to you guys, having a 4th and a 3rd. Like the second race was, the first 2 laps couldn't have gone any worse. I was literally behind almost everybody, and to be 3rd is just a miracle. So I'm just pleased with that. But yeah, it was wild for sure.
With that all being said, who would you like to thank that was able to get you, kind of power you up into that P3?
Let's see. I got this written out for me. I'd like to thank first and foremost my generous sponsor, Stargord on TikTok, aka Stargord, aka Stormguard, aka Robert London. I'd like to make a very important announcement to people of iRacing this Thursday, October 20th. This was 2 weeks ago. I don't know why they gave this to me. Anyway, Stomptown 2X on top, and thanks to my teammates at Sunshine Autos. And thanks to you guys for broadcasting, and thanks to service experts. And see you next week.
Thank you. Well, hopefully we'll see you on the podium again next week in Gateway.
As I'm educating myself with all the stuff that I have to close this show with, we're going to have one more conversation for you, Cody. It is going to be with our second place man, Bob Poplet.
Hey there, Bob. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
First off, congratulations on picking up that feature win there in P2.
Thank you.
So, Crone got by you, and then unfortunately he made that mistake with a couple laps. What were you thinking when you saw him kind of sideways and cutting through the grass?
Well, very convenient. I didn't even know at what point it was in the race. Like, I didn't realize there was only like 3 to go at that point. It felt like only like 10 minutes in at that point in the race. So I figured at the time, it was like, oh, well, if I keep my nose clean, and like he essentially did what I did, but worse in the mistakes department. My mistake was, I suppose, less time lost than dipping into the grass. But once you hit the grass in these things, especially there, you got so much load on the left side of the car, and you really got to be careful on that right-hander to not roast your tires too much. It was just like the worst place Paul could have gone off. But at the time, it was like, oh, okay, I got about 10 minutes left to go, and all of a sudden it's white flag. It was like, oh, perfect. I'm a second ahead, and don't make any mistakes and take home a win. It was very nice. It was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, it's kind of one thing I would mention with Ian, and unfortunately you're the other end of the tape where he had a bad start going on and was kind of had to drive back through the field. Is you started P6 and they were 4 wide in front of you going into turn 1. What was your thought on that? Because that was Josh and I were going crazy. We're like, oh god, they're going 4 wide.
Well, it's usually not advisable to go 4 wide into turn 1 off the start. So all I needed to do there was just hold the inside line and just make sure I kept my nose clean from anybody, sliding around from outbreaking themselves. And yeah, luckily the incidents were on the opposite side of the track to me, so it was just like keep my nose clean. I almost cut whoever came up on the inside of me off. I don't remember who that was, but it's just like everything's happening so fast. He was able to slip in beside. I was a little too cautious there, but thankfully didn't make any mistakes. We didn't touch, despite me being a little caught off guard there and not holding as much of the outside of the track as I should have. But it all worked out in the end. I was able to keep my line through the corner. Thankfully, the end of that little complex, I was, once you're on the inside of turn 1, you're also on the inside of that little hairpin that leads onto that pseudo straight with the chicane that you don't need to brake for. So thankfully, I had track position there. So it was just a matter of keeping side by side, not losing too much momentum through that section. And I knew I'd have the position back by the end of that turn.
Again, congratulations on your feature 2 win, sorry.
Thank you.
Who'd you like to thank that was able to get you there?
I would like to thank the Stomptown 2X Rust server. That is connect-us2xstomptown.gg, the Thursday wipe server. And any of you rusters out there, you should hop on that come force wipe in the next 3 days and have yourself a grand old time.
Well, hopefully we'll see you back on the podium in Gateway.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.
I'm watching that.
As I'm not sure where Josh is. Or
As I'm mute, I was
there we
muted,
go.
Apparently. As I remember why I'm muted, my cat was howling as he's looking at me because I haven't given him his nightly food, so I apologize there. Brought in Paul Crone. As I was saying before we realized that nobody could hear me, Paul Crone technically didn't win a race on the road today, but second gives you the overall win, Mr. Paul Crone. Talk me through your race, and it's your third this season overall.
Well, I'm kicking myself for clipping the grass at the end of that second race. That hurt my pride a lot. I'm glad for Bob though. He held it together. I mean, he made one mistake. I made one mistake. We were having a pretty good battle there at the top. I tried to push him away when him and I finally got past the Cedro. And but yeah, I wanted that win, but I'm glad to get the overall. And then that first race was pretty uneventful. June held it together. Yeah, I know I'm pronouncing that wrong, but Drengen held it together. JJ held together and had a good finish. And the kind of the seas parted for me on that start of the second race. I started in 9th and ended up, I think, in 3rd. Just got kind of lucky again. I'm one of the luckiest guys here.
Walk me through what's going through your mind when you're going into turn 1. You're 3 wide, but you see 4 wide ahead of you into less than a 90-degree right-hand corner. What's the thought process?
I wasn't really thinking. I was just flying on instincts there. My mind was telling me to pull back, but I got the train of cars behind me. Not really where you want to start in an invert is 9th out of 15th. So, I figured pin it to win it, went through it and saw the 3 get knocked off to the left. One of them came back and kind of pushed me out wide, but luckily the inside of, I guess it'd be turn, or the outside of 2, inside of 3 is where you want to be, because you just look that around and you get on the back straight. Drove away. It was lucky.
As coming into today's race, you had a 29 point lead. I'm sure it's going to be a little bit more. We don't have official points in front of us, but what's the game plan in these final 3 races to close out this championship?
Well, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. Just trying to qualify well, trying to stay high in that, in that first race. Try to be a little conservative, although I tell myself to, avoid the wreck every time, but I still, I found myself today trying to push through the turn 1 shenanigans of the invert. So just gonna keep doing what I'm doing, I guess.
And lastly, do you have anyone you'd like to thank for your 3rd overall win this season?
Yeah, I'd like to thank you guys again. Thank my my fellow drivers out here again. It's a good turnout tonight. It's fun racing with all you guys. It's always something I look forward to every Sunday night. I like to thank service experts. And yeah, congrats to all the feature winners. See you guys next week.
As good run, my friend. We'll see you next week. Cody, final thoughts.
Well, that was I wouldn't say less eventful. The first two starts were probably a little bit calmer than I was expecting. Although we did have, as I said, that we had 4 wide in the turn 1, but I would say the level of racing tonight was top notch. We saw a lot of respect, a lot of give and take, but a lot of hard, close racing as well. With that, as we pretty much had both features we had weren't photo finishes, but we had cars within a second of each other. 20-minute racing on a road course, which is crazy to think. So really good hard racing all night long, and can't wait to see what these guys and girls will be able to do in Gateway. So looking forward to finishing off the season in the last couple of rounds here.
As programming note for the Automotive Sports Network, remember the NASA Rallycross Challenge is done until February, but that doesn't mean we are. The EMSA Service Experts eRoval Series, I'll get to that in a minute, Bryan, so I apologize there. Service Experts eRoval Series next Sunday from the Gateway Motorsports Park, also known as the Worldwide Technology Raceway. Myself, Cody Erdmann, Bryan Sawyer, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And that first graphic that was shown, NASA Sim Racing, starting next Monday, not tomorrow. Next Monday, we're going to have a fun series with the Mercedes and with the Street Stock. Everyone is able to join, whether you're watching on ASN Live or on ASN On Demand. Just go on that link, nasadiscord.tk, for all that information. As from all of us at the Automotive Sports Network, Cody Erdmann, Philip Kraus, Bryan Sawyer, my name is Josh Mertz. We hope you enjoyed today's coverage, brought to you by the Service Experts Advantage Program. Get worry-free comfort at one low monthly payment. For more information, visit serviceexperts.com. We are done in Indianapolis. We hope to see you next week in Gateway. But until then, so long, everyone.